Have you ever felt a whisper inside you, so subtle yet so certain, and still ignored it? Maybe it was that uneasy feeling before a decision, or a gentle nudge pulling you away from a place, a person, a moment, and yet you stayed. Because logic said it was fine, because you didn't want to seem irrational, because the world taught you to doubt what cannot be proven. We've been conditioned, not just by society, but by repetition, to mistrust what we feel when it doesn't come with a reason. We've been trained to believe that if it can't be measured, it isn't real. That gut feeling, just anxiety. That inner knowing, just coincidence. That moment when everything inside you says no, while the outside screams yes. Just fear, they say. But what if that voice inside wasn't fear? What if it was intelligence, quantum, ancient and precise? Your intuition is not random, it's not guesswork, it's not fantasy. It's a signal from your own body, your own field, your own connection to something far bigger than what your eyes can see. It's like a satellite dish, tuned to frequencies that the mind hasn't yet caught up with. You don't see the signal, but you feel its pull, like a soft vibration under your skin, like a pause that holds meaning, like a silence that says more than words. Imagine you're standing in front of an old radio. Static fills the room. You turn the dial gently, carefully, until suddenly a voice breaks through, clear, familiar. That voice is your intuition. It's always been there. But the noise, the external noise, the mental chatter, the unresolved trauma, it all blurred the signal. Science is finally catching up with what mystics always knew. Quantum physics speaks of non-local communication, particles interacting instantly, regardless of distance. Joe Dispenza teaches how the body perceives energy before the brain can label it. Bruce Lipton reveals how our cells behave like antennas, tuned to vibrational messages. This isn't mysticism, it's biology, it's physics, it's consciousness, encoded into form. And yet, even with all this, we still ignore it. Why? Because we've been programmed to believe that truth must come from outside, from experts, from systems, from proof. We've forgotten how to listen inward. We've confused the clarity of intuition with the chaos of fear, and in that confusion, we've lost trust in the most ancient guidance we carry, the compass within. But that ends here. In this video, we're going to shift everything. You're going to understand, not just intellectually, but viscerally, how to tell the difference between fear and intuition, how to recognize the subtle resonance of truth inside your body, and how to tune your awareness to the quantum signal that has always been guiding your path. If this message resonates with something quiet, but deep inside you, then let's walk this path together. Subscribe now, so you don't let this moment fade into the noise again. Let's go deeper. We're diving into the invisible sabotage, the mental and emotional programming that's been silencing your inner voice, and why you've been taught to betray your own knowing. Stay with me. What you'll discover might change the way you navigate every choice from now on. The invisible sabotage, why you keep ignoring your intuition. It doesn't start with disbelief, it starts with subtle rewiring, quiet messages repeated so often that they become your truth. Don't be so sensitive. That's just your imagination. Be rational. These phrases, so common they seem harmless, carry a deeper message. What you feel can't be trusted. And so we learn early to abandon the signal, to shut off the soft voice that rises from within when logic can't explain. We trade instinct for strategy, gut feelings for checklists, a soul whisper for someone else's approval. This is the invisible sabotage. It rewards intellect, but it punishes intuition. But what if the most powerful truth was hiding where you never thought to look? Let me explain. When you were a child, your inner knowing was alive, vibrant. You felt things before they were said. You noticed energy before actions, but that made the world uncomfortable, and slowly you were taught to translate what you felt into what was acceptable. Now, add trauma to the mix, and the sabotage becomes even deeper, because trauma creates hypervigilance. You start scanning every room for danger, not for what is, but for what might be. Anxiety takes the driver's seat, and in that loop of survival, even your intuition gets hijacked. You no longer know if what you feel is insight or fear. Here's the truth most people miss. Intuition is subtle, trauma is loud, intuition is calm, fear is frantic. But when your body has lived too long in a state of alertness, everything feels like an alarm. You've seen it before. You just didn't know how to read it. And there's more. Neuroscience shows that your brain doesn't perceive reality directly. It filters it through past experiences. So even when your intuition speaks, your mind might translate it through an old wound, an old narrative, a belief that isn't yours anymore. What happens then? You start outsourcing your truth, waiting for signs from the outside, looking for confirmation that it's okay to feel what you already knew. And with each moment of self-abandonment, the signal gets weaker, not because it's gone, but because you stop tuning in. Let me give you a symbol. Imagine your intuition as a radio station, always broadcasting, always clear. But you've been tuning into noise for so long, you forgot how silence sounds. Your task is not to build a new antenna, it's to remember that it was always there. Pause now, breathe. If you could name the emotion rising in you right now, what would it be? Write that word in the comments. Maybe it's trust, maybe it's clarity, maybe it's liberation. Whatever it is, leave your mark. That's how we anchor a new vibration in the field. We're going deeper now into the body and discovering the exact place where intuition lives. It's not in your thoughts, it's in your cells, your heart, your gut. This next part might shift everything you believed about where knowing comes from. Quantum codes in the body, where intuition actually lives. Your intuition doesn't float in the air, it lives inside you, embedded in the biology of your being, and not in your thoughts, but in the places you rarely look, your heart, your gut, your cells. We often talk about the brain as the center of intelligence, but let me show you something different. The heart, not just a metaphor of emotion, but an actual electromagnetic powerhouse. Research shows it generates a magnetic field up to 60 times stronger than the brain. This field changes with your emotions and communicates with your brain in a language of rhythm. Heart coherence, as Joe Dispenza explains, is when the heart, brain, and body align into a harmonious signal. It's in this state that intuition becomes clearer, faster, louder. Pause for a moment. Breathe into your chest, not as an idea, but as a practice. Feel that rhythm inside you. That's your first receiver. But there's another, the gut, your second brain. 90% of the body's serotonin is produced there. It holds its own nervous system, connected directly to your brain through the vagus nerve. It's no coincidence that when you feel something is wrong, you feel it there. Tightness, nausea, stillness. The gut doesn't use words. It speaks in sensations. And deeper still, at a microscopic level, your cells are not just functioning organs. Bruce Lipton calls them vibrational receivers, tiny antennas decoding the electromagnetic messages of your environment. Your cells are listening, constantly, not just to toxins or nutrients, but to energy, emotion, intention. You are a walking receiver of non-local information. You are not imagining things, you are perceiving frequencies, some of which your rational mind hasn't yet learned to name. Intuition in this light is not mystical, it is biological, practical, precise. And yet, So often we try to think our way to intuition. We sit in silence waiting for words. But intuition rarely comes in language. It comes in body signals, a shift in breath, a wave of knowing, an inner stillness that says yes, or a sudden unease that screams no. But if it's this physical, why do we miss it? Because we were never taught to interpret the body's language. We were taught to override it, to sit still when our gut said leave, to smile when our chest tightened, to agree when our spine stiffened. Over time, we muted the instrument. Let me offer you a new way. Start mapping your inner cues. Notice the sensations that appear when something feels aligned: lightness, openness, flow. And notice the opposite, the constriction, the resistance, the drop in energy. These are not accidents, they're coordinates. Let's go even deeper. We'll talk about a critical confusion, when anxiety disguises itself as intuition. We'll unpack the emotional residue that creates false alarms and how to tell, in real time, whether what you're feeling is a signal or a symptom of unhealed fear. Stay close. What you'll hear next can save you from repeating the same cycles again and again. The mistaken identity, when anxiety imitates intuition. There's a moment, subtle but sharp, when something inside you says, no, or maybe wait, or just, not yet. And in that moment, it feels like intuition. But the truth is, not everything that feels urgent is true. Sometimes, what you think is a warning from your soul is actually a leftover vibration from an old wound. Let's slow this down. Emotional residue is real. It lives in the body, in muscles, memories, and even posture. When you've been through trauma, whether sudden or cumulative, your nervous system becomes trained to react fast, to prepare for pain, to expect betrayal, to anticipate abandonment. So now even peace can feel like a threat. Silence feels suspicious, stillness feels unsafe, and this is where confusion begins, because fear feels loud, urgent, compelling. But intuition is calm. It doesn't rush, it doesn't panic, it doesn't demand control. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're about to make a choice, a new relationship, a job, a move. There's a voice in your head screaming, "Don't do it, you're not ready, this will hurt." That's fear talking. It wants certainty before movement. But underneath the noise, there's a whisper. It says, wait, not out of panic, but out of alignment. That's intuition. Here's the process. Start with the breath. When the feeling arises, don't act immediately. Pause. Breathe deeply into your belly. Let the sensation settle. Then ask gently, is this fear or is this inner truth? The body knows. Fear constricts, intuition expands, and dopamine, yes, the chemical of reward, plays a role here. When you're addicted to urgency, dopamine hijacks your clarity. You become wired to act quickly, to avoid discomfort at all costs. But intuition doesn't follow that timeline. It operates in stillness, in resonance, in timing that often doesn't make sense to the mind. Pause for a moment. Can you recall a time when you rushed and regretted it, or when you waited and clarity appeared? This is not about perfection, it's about awareness. Every time you pause instead of react, you build a deeper bridge to your inner compass. Now, we go even further, because knowing the difference is just the start. We'll enter the practice, a step-by-step guide to reconnect with your quantum signal, in your mornings, in your body, and in your journal. Simple, practical, real. And if you've ever wondered how to actually tune into your intuition on demand, this next part is for you. You don't need to chase intuition, you need to create space for it. So let's go straight to the point, because intuition is not built in theory. It's built in practice, in rhythm, in repetition, in real-life moments where you choose to listen. Here's the process, a simple daily ritual. 3 steps, deeply effective. Step 1. Morning stillness, before the mind activates. Before the scroll, the emails, the outside world, sit in silence just for 3 minutes, not to meditate, not to think, just to listen, not with your ears, but with your field. Ask, what wants to emerge in me today? No need for an answer. Just be there, still, present. Step 2. Body signal mapping. Throughout the day, pay attention to your physical responses, not your thoughts, your sensations. Lightness, warmth, openness. These are green lights. Tightness, shortness of breath, stomach clenching. These are yellow lights. Start a small list in your notes app. When I feel aligned, my body feels, and complete the sentence. This creates awareness, and awareness rebuilds the signal. Step 3. Intuitive journaling. At the end of the day, write a question from your heart, something real. What truth am I avoiding? Where is my energy being drained? What am I ready to release? Then pause. Don't analyze, just write what comes. The answer doesn't come from your thoughts, it comes through your presence. Over time, repetition builds trust. Trust builds clarity. Clarity builds alignment. And alignment builds a life that doesn't need constant proof to feel right. Let me give you a bonus, a sacred tool, water. Yes, water. It is a powerful amplifier of intention. Speak to your glass of water in the morning. Let this help me feel what's true. Then drink. It may sound simple, but water holds memory. Masaru Emoto's research shows that water changes structure when exposed to words, emotions, and frequencies. You are mostly water. So is your intuition. And if you're here, still with me at this part of the journey, thank you. Your presence means you're already reconnecting. This path isn't about knowing everything. It's about remembering what matters. If you've ever had a moment like this, a shift, a signal, a subtle knowing that changed everything, take a second now. Share it in the comments. Your story may help someone else trust their own. And if this content speaks to you, subscribe and join our community. You're not alone. We're walking this path together, and there's more to come. Let's go now, going to uncover why this disconnection isn't accidental. We'll expose the deeper system, the one that benefits from you being distracted, disconnected, disoriented. You've felt it, but now you'll see it. The Matrix wants you disconnected, and why that's not a metaphor. This isn't just about distraction, it's about disconnection, designed, systemic, and profitable. You were born intuitive, but you were raised in noise. Modern life doesn't just demand your attention, it hijacks it, endlessly. Algorithms, alerts, opinions, productivity. Every moment, something outside pulls you away from what's inside, not by accident, by design. Because when you're disconnected from your own signal, you're easier to control. Pause now, let that land. When you don't trust your gut, you'll seek answers in authority. When you don't feel your body, you'll surrender to pressure. When you can't hear your own soul, you'll follow anyone who sounds confident, and that's the perfect condition for a matrix to thrive. But not the fictional one. This one's made of expectations, of overconsumption, of spiritual entertainment that keeps you thinking you're awakening, but never invites you to feel your truth. Let me explain. You scroll through positive quotes, affirmations, guided mantras, but underneath, your nervous system is still wired for survival. You're saying, I am light, but your stomach is tight. You're saying, I trust the universe, but your chest is heavy. That's spiritual bypassing. It sounds beautiful, but it silences the signal. Because true awakening isn't always pretty. It's raw, it's uncomfortable. It unearths what you buried. It demands presence, not performance. It requires you to sit with your truth, even when it shakes you. And that's exactly what this system doesn't want. Because when you're present, you start to see. When you feel, you begin to remember. And when you remember, you stop complying with roles that don't fit, with lives that don't resonate, with truths that never felt right. Pause for a moment. Can you sense the difference between your real voice and the noise you've inherited? That's the beginning of freedom. We're not here to escape the world. We're here to move through it awake. And that leads us into the next layer, the most mysterious of all, the intelligence of the body. Because what if your body knows before your mind ever understands? What if it's already reading the field? We'll explore this deeply, with stories, science, and soul memory. Stay close. You're not just learning, you're remembering. When the body knows before the mind understands, it happens fast, too fast for logic to explain. A mother senses something is wrong with her child before the phone rings. A driver slams the brakes without knowing why, avoiding an accident seconds later. You feel the urge to leave a room, and then the energy shifts. These aren't coincidences. They're perception, embodied, real. Your body is not a follower of your thoughts. It's a translator of frequencies. Before the brain interprets, the body already reacts, sometimes in stillness, sometimes in tension, sometimes in a pull you can't describe. And science affirms what ancient mystics have always known. The double-slit experiment in quantum physics shows that observation collapses possibility into reality. Perception shapes what becomes. You are not just witnessing life. You're influencing it through the observer within you. And this goes even deeper. Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, spoke of soul memory, wisdom encoded in the body, carried across lifetimes. He believed the body holds truth long before the mind is ready to understand it. Your reactions, your instincts, your sudden knowing, they may not be new. They may be remembered. Let me give you a symbol. Muscle testing, dowsing, somatic therapy. These practices reveal something profound. The body responds to truth. A simple statement can trigger strength or weakness in your muscles, not because of belief, but because of resonance. You felt this before. You walk into a room and your skin tightens. You meet someone and your stomach drops. No words were said, but your body already knew. This is not prediction. This is perception, frequency recognition. You're reading the field, not the future. Pause for a moment. Think back to a time when you felt something before it happened. A knowing, a resistance, a pull. You didn't know why, but something in you just knew. That's not magic. That's coherence. That's presence. That's what happens when you stop drowning in thoughts and start listening with your cells. And now we return to the center, the inner compass. Because what good is knowing if you don't live by it? What good is intuition if you still ignore its call? We'll explore how to live guided, not just in moments, but as a way of being. How to build a life around the signal that's always been trying to reach you. Let's go there. The return of the inner compass, how to live guided. When you begin to trust your signal, life stops feeling like a puzzle and starts flowing like a pattern. Because something changes when you stop deciding from fear and start choosing from resonance. You notice it in small things first. You cancel that meeting and later realize it would have drained you. You turn left instead of right and discover something you didn't know you were seeking. You pause before speaking and avoid an unnecessary rupture. This isn't luck. This is coherence. When your inner compass is active, decisions feel less like calculation and more like clarity. You don't always have reasons, but you have rhythm. You don't always have certainty, but you have peace. And that's enough. Let me offer a practice. Start small. Begin your day by tuning in. What would alignment feel like today? Then choose one action, just one. based on that answer. Not what's expected, not what's urgent, but what feels honest. You'll notice something. Relationships begin to shift. The ones that were forced begin to fade. The ones that feel expansive begin to grow. Timing changes, not because you're controlling it, but because you're attuned to it. Your health improves, because you're no longer pushing against your own flow. Living guided doesn't mean perfection. It means intimacy with your own frequency. Intuition, like a muscle, grows with use. The more you listen, even when it's inconvenient, the louder it becomes. And the more you follow it, the less you need to explain it. Because when you're truly in tune, you stop needing permission to feel what you feel. Remember this, the real you, the one beneath roles, fears, and masks, already knows the way. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who's always been there. And if you've made it here, you've already begun that return. Now let's breathe together, not for calm, but for connection. Place your hand on your chest. Feel that rhythm. That is your compass. Not outside, not someday. Right here, right now, as we close this journey, let's bring everything back to one single truth. And underneath all that noise, your signal never stopped transmitting. Your intuition is not random. It's always been a signal, clear, steady, timeless. The question is not if it exists. The question is, are you quiet enough to hear it? Start by observing the smallest whispers, the subtle nudges, the moments of knowing that make no logical sense, but feel undeniably right. Because those whispers become louder with attention, and those moments, they're not just glimpses, they're invitations. It's not about learning something new, it's about unlearning the noise. It's about remembering what your body has always known, what your soul never forgot, what your energy keeps trying to show you over and over again. If this message awakened something inside, it was never by chance. You were meant to hear this, now. So take a breath. Feel the resonance in your chest. And if you feel called, write in the comments, I am ready to follow my quantum signal. Your word carries power, and your intention shapes the field. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for walking this journey with me, step by step, insight by insight, remembrance by remembrance. If this video moves something inside you, leave your mark. Comment below, like the video. And subscribe to this channel so you don't miss what's coming next, because we're just getting started. The next video waiting for you will take this path even deeper, with insights, stories, and truths your soul already recognizes. Keep walking. Keep remembering. Your energy is a language, and the universe listens. Welcome back.